Every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends. You need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAFM.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Seven after 10 o'clock, welcome to the second hour of The Talking Point. Coming up in this hour is Municipal Watch, and today we focus on the Getleng Rivier local municipality. It's under the Bojanala Platinum District in the Northwest Province. Before we get to it, your WhatsApp voice notes from the open line.
Listeners, if there's one thing that we must fix in South Africa at the moment is to control our attitude, especially when we are doing a protest. It can be a student protest or township protest. There's one thing that we need to fix within ourselves. No police can fix it. It's only us. No soldiers can fix it. It's only us. People can get arrested during a protest and detained, but their attitude is not fixed. We're still going to be in the same cycle. We need to fix our attitude toward history. We need to fix our attitude on how we address each other before any protest can lead to the loss of life, to the damage in building. It's all that I can say. Brian Mabai from Protea Glen. Thanks for the great show.
Good morning, Cathy and the SA listener. Cathy, I want to speak about what happened to the university there. Cathy, in South Africa today, there's no place where it's safe. Don't blame people when people brought gun to protect themselves. You go to church, they want to come there, kidnap you and shoot in church. You go to magistrate in court, they're shooting inside the court. You go, whatever you're going, it's not safe. What we need to focus on is focus on the people that go to parliament or the political party to make the law tougher for those people that are doing criminality. Because we're living in a violent society. That's why you see people are protecting themselves. You know, people are having guns to protect themselves. It's a pity that the students die, but because of violence. You know, violence is not a good thing. It's still in Cape Town. Thank you so much.
Morning, Cathy. You're speaking with Tembiso from Mpumalanga. I'd like to send my condolences to the family of the young man that was killed in the Walter Sisulu University. But Cathy, security needs to be tightened in universities. It is very crucial to make sure that security is tight in universities, because I remember there was an incident where people came from outside into the university campus and they robbed students of their cell phones and laptops. So if the security is going to be weak, people are going to come and do all those types of things inside the university. But there should be a control as to how do you deal with it towards students inside the campus. I'm very sorry about the incident, but security needs to be very tight in universities for the safety of our kids.
Good morning, Cathy. Regarding that shooting at the university in Mthatha, I think right now, all I want to do is just send out my sincerest condolences to the family of the deceased. I think it's not the right time to be questioning why and what. That's like walking into a house where people are mourning, somebody has passed away, and saying, what happened? Person died, man. Let's just have some sympathy and empathy. This is Figo from the Eastern Cape.
Spar Rewards brings you 5 days of even more now on with up to 50% off. Get 2-liter Brooks Oros. Buy any two for 70 Rand and save 26 Rand. For 400-gram Lucky Star Pilchards, buy any two for 45 Rand and save 11 Rand. Price is valid from 17 to 21 April while stocks last. Spar Rewards. Sign up for more.
Football intelligence will be tested between the students, University of Johannesburg and Tshwane University of Technology. They are both eager to go an extra mile for victory. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness the Varsity Derby, UJ Ladies versus TUT Ladies on Sunday 20 April at 11:30 a.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Hi, I'm Khomotso Cathy Mohlahlana, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, Cathy Mohlahlana. Because where words fail, music speaks.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Well, getting into Municipal Watch then this morning, the Gauteng local municipality in the northwest is our focus today. You'll find areas including Swart, Riggins, Costa and Derby that fall under this particular municipality. In 2020, the High Court in Mafikeng had ruled that the municipality was in breach of its legal obligations when they failed to deliver water and sanitation services. This gave residents the green light to take over the running of those services, including water supply and reviving an abandoned sewage plant. Local businessman Willie Jones is one that led that process of fixing the water issues, including putting up his own money to the tune of 2.5 million rand. We understand, but, getting very involved in helping to resolve some of these issues. These operations had gotten back on track, were being run successfully. The municipality, of course, continued to litigate in court, unsurprisingly so, probably over the principle of this matter. The court then granted the municipality the services, taking over the services. This has led to challenges again, and we're going to be understanding the extent of the challenges that are being experienced and how it is that both the community groups and the municipality can now be working together to help resolve some of the issues. Let me welcome onto the show Councillor Thabo Jacobs, who is the mayor of Gauteng Rivier local municipality. Good morning. Thank you for your time this morning.
Good morning.
Councillor Jacobs, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners. But I'm finding it very difficult to can hear you enough. You are not that audible enough from my side. I don't know if it applies to all the people there, but I think if you can try to raise up your voice a bit.
Okay, the team has just boosted my level, so hopefully you will hear me a bit better. Councillor Mduduzi Mapanga, you're the DA caucus leader within the same municipality. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning to your viewers.
And of course, Willie Jones, a local businessman and somebody who's deemed a bit of a community hero. Willie, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and welcome to the listeners.
So, Willie, let me begin perhaps with you, because of course you have been championing a lot of the efforts from the community end. We know that in 2020 you made really national headlines when the court decided to side with you and give you the functions of taking over what is primarily a municipal function in as far as the water and sanitation of your area is concerned. Maybe speak to us about what the journey has been from that point of the court ruling to where we are today.
Okay, I just want to state one thing. We as concerned citizens, and I'm part of the community, irrespective of color, creed, or anything. So our intention is not to take over. The only thing is we want to safeguard the assets until a workable solution can be found. And then everybody can engage with us. So the thing is, it's not like we're opposing anybody. I am a child of this town, and I'm here to help. So this is just one thing I want to say. I see the problem we've got, where the challenges we're facing is electrical problems. To such an extent, it is hampering business, butcheries, people that need to run the co-op, that need to run cold storage facilities, not only in town, but in the township as well. Now, let's distinguish between two things here. Eskom is direct supplying the township. So therefore, it's most likely that the township and Koster will be without power when Eskom is dead. But in Koster itself, municipality is supplying the central business district and the residents, and the Koster residential area, and the waterworks and pump stations. Those are supplied by the municipality. And because of a dilapidated infrastructure, electrical-wise, we've got additional electricity outages. We just fondly call them Koster shedding. So we've got the burden of load shedding countrywide. That's one thing we in Koster just accept. But then there's the burden of Koster shedding. And we had problems from 7 o'clock this morning. I'm not sure if the power already came on or it's still off. So the Koster shedding is a big problem for electrical supply of electricity. So when we've got no power in town, the problem we're facing is we can't pump water from the Koster Dam. We've got 2 pump stations, and then we've got the water purification plant. The water purification plant and the wastewater treatment plant. The water purification and wastewater plant is run off what we call the dam line. That is the electrical line that goes to Koster Dam. So when those are dead and without power, we are not able to supply, or people is not getting water, both in Koster, Riagile, and Cedrala. So water is still a big issue. We still got problems with a lot of challenges on water, and the water works is not running 24/7. If I can take you back to the time, I think it was 2021, or when the concerned citizens and myself took over the water, the pump stations and the water purification plants, we had clean, drinkable water 24/7. There was no tankers that need to tank water around or cart water, because all the pipes, everything was working 100%. Although the court order only gave us the fenced area, like the water purification plant, the pump station, and the dam pump station, and the sewage plant. We did not have control of the reticulation system. So we didn't have that was not part of our scope of let's say, work. So the problem being now is we took over the Wednesday at 2 o'clock and the Friday at 12 o'clock. Every single person in Ketleng River, in Koster, Cedrala, and Riagile. Everybody had water in their taps, pure, clean water. Now, the thing is, it's after handing over, 3 days after handing over, the problems, water tankers is back. The water tankers was paid $380,000 a month to cart water, irrespective of the quantity or the quantity of water that is being carting around. And then another problem is we've got 2 hours a day, if we're lucky, which we've got water. And it's affecting the poor community, it's affecting the people in Riagile more than I would say it's affecting people in the town itself. But so we appreciated the ruling of I think it was Honorable Gura at that time that did the ruling. So we appreciate it. But I want to state, we're not here to fight the municipality. We are here, we are always open to engage with municipality. And the problem is municipality don't want to engage with us. I'm going to say something that if we ask, and we have an open vote today, and we ask people, would they want Village Jones or municipality to supply water to the community of Koster and all these places, and we go for a vote, I want to bet at least a bottle of whiskey that most people, irrespective of creed, color, whatever, would vote for Village Jones to help them to supply clean water. We've done that for 4 months on end. And the point I want to make is, if I was able to do it with my own money, you're correct. I've spent $2.5 million of my own money, but the farmers and a lot of businessmen contributed to the rest of the money necessary. Now, if we look at the case of Koster then, the complete or the whole account for this, let's call it exercise, was 18 million. So if we look at what is the current or the previous budget for water and sanitation, it's an excess of 6 million a month. So then there's 24 million available to run the waterworks, sewage plant and the pump station. So that's 6 million a month. If you take 18 million, which include legal fees, and half of the 18 million was for legal fees, the rest of the money was for running the actual services, fixing pump stations, fixing pumps, repairing concrete, repairing the dam, fixing everything, clean up everything. So the point I want to make is that including the legislation part, we was able of running it for 18 million and including the legislation part. So if we discharge the legislation part, we would be able to run it, we was able to run it less than 9 million for 4 months on end. So my question is, or my observation is, I don't think the residents of, let's call it Ketleng Rivier, because I'm not going to refer to the 3 towns separately, water affects everybody. So I don't think we're getting the correct or the proper service delivery for our money, our taxpayers' money.
All right.
It's like, it's a business, and it should be run like a business. We should have competent people, and I want to just throw this in the open. Get a more competent person than Billy Jones to fix the water crisis, and I'll buy you a bottle of whiskey.
All right, Willie, let me thank you so much for at least putting your side of the story on the table this morning. As you can hear, it's been quite a journey, but look at that level of commitment, right? Not only from him, but other, members of the community overall having to raise, to the tune of 18 million rand. That is not money to be squandered at all. Mr. Mapanga, let me perhaps come to you and give you a chance to speak to some of the challenges that are being experienced in this municipality, and also then what happens now. Because, of course, residents are continuing their challenge to get back control in as far as the running of these services are concerned. Wonder if you have a position on that too.
Sure. Look, water is still an ongoing challenge. I mean, there are ongoing projects at the moment with regards to expanding the bulk water supply. That's with Koosterdam. And, recently there were issues with a drought in which affected Shortregens. And so those are still sort of challenges that are still there. The road, the main road in Koster, the Jameson Road, that was still a challenge, but that is actually something that's more under province's purview. As you may know, the municipality is under a financial recovery plan at the moment, and so that is underway. But even there, I mean, there has been sort of some marginal improvements, I guess, that could be, referred to if you look at the report of the AG. But, from my side, I'm still concerned that as things stand now, we still yet to have a meeting with the oversight committee for the financial recovery plan and have a proper moratorium on spending cuts, which are desperately needed. So those are sort of a variety of issues that are there that still need to be resolved, I think, going forward. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. In a moment, we're going to give the mayor of the Gauteng local municipality an opportunity to respond to the issues that have been raised. Of course, you're more than welcome to be part of this conversation, especially if you're out in this municipality or you have relatives that live there. What is the experience that you can share about what it is that you have seen? And this tussle, right, between the municipality and the residents, where municipalities are failing and residents are showing that they are capable and they have the capacity to take over the running of those services. Should they, in fact, be given the green light to do that without interference? I'll take some of your calls on 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. We're going to continue this conversation shortly. You're listening to Municipal Watch. It's now heading up to 10:30. Here are your latest news headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. On the news headlines on SAFM, I am Ondalambana and a very good morning. A scholar transport driver has been gunned down near a primary school in Sophia Town, Johannesburg. Eyewitnesses say the driver was shot when he was dropping off school children this morning. In another shooting incident, a taxi owner has been killed in Nyanga on the Cape Flats. Mongi Titi was a member of the Cape Amalgamated Taxi Association. And the Umkhonto Wesizwe Party has won its first ward in the eThekwini Metropolitan Municipality in KwaZulu-Natal. The party defeated the Democratic Alliance in a by-election that was held in Mount Moriah, Sunningdale, under Ward 110 yesterday. Details on these on other stories at 11.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand currently trading at 18 rand 85 to the dollar, 24 rand 93 to the pound, and 21 rand 44 to the euro. Markets in Asia were higher at the closing bell. The JSE mixed during mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are currently trading weaker. Gold is trading at $3,322, platinum $961 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $66.34 a barrel.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
So, Getleng Rivier local municipality, our focus for this morning. You've heard from Willie Jones, who represents the local community, Mduduzi Mapanga. He's the DA caucus leader in that municipality. Thabo Jacobs is the mayor of the Getleng Rivier municipality. So, Mr. Mayor, let me give you a chance to respond then to some of the issues that have been raised, but perhaps a good starting point. You heard the confidence with which Willie Jones was speaking, that he believes that even if you were to ask residents about who has done a better job of facilitating running services, it has been at the hands of the private organizations run by the residents and not the municipality. I mean, that is a serious slap in the face, right?
Not no, once again, good morning, Cathy. Not really, Cathy. No, that's for us. No, that's not really the point. And one also should appreciate the platform, because we have seen in the past there were numerous articles by different media that were written, and we had never been given a chance to reply. But today we have been given a chance to do so. Look, firstly, one acknowledges the challenges that the municipality has been facing, and most of them are historic. Let's attend the issue of the water challenges. And before that one, actually, it must be on record, Katie, that remember the matter of the court. It was a default judgment. The municipality did not respond. It was not as if there was an argument between the top parties and court at the court, and then the court decided that the concerned citizens should take the plans. No, it was as a result of a default judgment that the municipality did not respond to the court order. I think that should be cleared. Second,
it doesn't make it any better. Mr.
And I'm
Jacobs.
not saying it's making it any better.
But because one would think that the municipality in the first instance would be the first to jump up when it feels that its jurisdiction and its responsibilities are being encroached on.
I would really appreciate if you can give me a chance to respond. I'm not saying it's making it any better. I'm just saying that if the municipality, I would not want to respond to that past administration, but I would like to believe that if the municipality had responded, maybe the court would have come to a better conclusion. That's what I'm trying to bring to you. But look, the issues that Willie Jones is raising, yes, of course, the challenges of water. The issue here is what is that we are doing to mitigate against such. Number one, Katie, I became a mayor in 2021. The first thing I did when I came into office was to write to the concerned citizens and so that I can engage them and try to resolve this matter, because for us, concerned citizens are the residents of Getleng. So I do not want a situation whereby there seems to be hostility between the municipality and its own residents. So I did that. So I'm surprised that Willie Jones today says they are willing to work with us as the municipality, but we are refusing. That is not the case. We are currently busy with a case is that we are busy with the coastal bag water supply. The main aim of that project is to ensure that we improve our supply of water to the communities. As things currently stand, the reason why we might be having water challenges is that the demand is too high. The current existing structure is giving us 6.2 megaliters of water per day, and the demand is at 8.5. Now, once that project is done, then we should be able to supply the whole of Coastal with water, because we'll be at least getting 10 megaliters of water per day. And we are currently also doing the refurbishment of the coastal water treatment, which is the issue that Willie Jones has raised. The project is ongoing. Probably between July and August, that project should be done. So those are the mitigation factors that we have brought before as a new council to ensure that we address the issue of water challenges in Koster. It's not only Koster, but there's the issue of Derby, whereby there's refurbishment of boreholes in that area. We all know that Derby is 100% reliant on the boreholes. There's great improvement also in Mazista, where before we came in, there were serious challenges of water. But now I can stand before you and say there's been great improvements there in Mazista. Equally so in Swartregens. The plant was refurbished. The people are getting water on a daily basis. The only challenge we've been facing are technical challenges. There might be your pipe burst and all other technical challenges that we are facing. But the informal settlements which we are providing with trucks, but Swartregens, I can proudly say the water supply is stable. Equally so is Mazista. Yes, in Koster is those challenges, but there are projects that are ongoing to deal with those challenges. Now, when Billy Jones says that the people of Koster will choose him, but he contested elections in 2021 and he lost. If ever he has done that great job, then maybe people should have voted for him to continue doing that work, because he was contesting the elections and he lost. But that's not how we want to see him. We see him as a businessman, as a resident, and we'll always extend our hands to engage with the concerned citizens to can work together in ensuring that we resolve the challenges that are faced by the municipality.
So, Mr. Jacobs, how do you explain a situation where, when the supply of water was being handled or managed by the residents, they were able to have full continuous supply uninterrupted for some time? And yet when the municipality is in charge, there are all of these water interruptions, there are water tankers that are being procured, rightfully so in the event of there being interruptions. But how do you explain that? What is it that they're able to get right that the municipality isn't able to do?
I'm trying to avoid this situation whereby it's me or this as Willie Jones, but that is a distortion. So we can't speak as if that was that's truly what happened. There were very serious challenges in the actual fact. I'm one of those people who even questioned. They remember the 18 million they received as concerned citizens was an intervention from the provincial government in paying them. I'm one of the people who was against that, because they still needed to quantify the work that they have done on site or the work that they've been claiming to have done. So I'm trying to avoid that situation, Cathy, whereby the municipality against its own residents.
But you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it because
no, I'm not avoiding it. I'm just highlighting to you that I do not want to create that a platform where there's animosity between them and us and us as the citizens of Koster. But all I'm saying is that that is a discussion. As I said to you when I started the interview, that at least we have been given an opportunity to can respond to all the misleading.
And why do you say it's a distortion?
Because even when they were in charge of that plan, there were still challenges. It's on record. We have it in the in a travel. There was a point whereby people were getting dirty water there. Mahalis can attest to that. The Compa can attest to that. But hence I'm saying to you, it has always been a one-sided show whereby they say things, and because those things are not being countered against, now it appears that is the truth. So that is not the truth. There've always been challenges in handling of water, irrespective of who was in charge of the plants. Now I'm saying to you, there are projects here that have been brought by the municipality to mitigate against those challenges. But as for the 4 months that was the city, the concerned citizens was in charge of the plants, that is the people were getting supply of water. That is not the truth. As I'm saying to you, it was the truth. I wrote them a letter and say, let's meet. Why would I want to disrupt that process whereby the community is helping us to give people water? I've always advocated for a cooperation between communities, especially between our municipality and the community of Koster. So I was trying to avoid that situation whereby we find ourselves fighting against our residents as a municipality. But that is not entirely the truth, Cathy.
Vili, the mayor says that you are lying about some of the things that you have said, including the full extent of the intervention.
Cathy, if I can just make one point. It was not a default judgment. It is an interim order granted by His Honourable Gura, and it was an order by agreement. And the thing is, let's put it this way. The council has got challenges, and they're trying to fix it by putting new pipes and everything. But if you bear in mind what the concerned citizens does or did, for 3 weeks, the municipality was not able to supply a single drop of water. Then there was the court order for 10 days to rectify, and then the concerned citizens took over at 12 o'clock this Wednesday, the 11th of January. That Friday, everybody was back in court. At 12 o'clock, everybody in the community had crisp, clean water. So the thing is, I beg to differ. We can ask the community who they would prefer, either Billy Jones or the municipality, to supply water. And again, we propose a committee between residents and municipality to address these issues. And we was in favor of a triple P. It's a public-private partnership. So that expertise like we've got can be helpful to the municipality, because it just makes common sense. If you pass the waterworks right now, the lawn is not mowed, there's bushes the height of the building, there's broken vehicles over there. It does not look like a water purification plant. And there's no skills development in municipality. If they need a bolt, where are they going to find the bolt now? Because their stores is broken down. Nobody's got a bolt. I've got most of the equipment that's needed. I've got electrical motors, and we've been supplying and installing electrical motors.
Your call has been placed on hold.
Oh, all right. It looks like we've lost Vili there. We'll try to get him back up on the line. Mduduzi, as far as you know, I mean, from a council perspective, the idea of a public-private partnership, how has it been received, the proposal that Vili and the Costa Community Association or grouping that they've brought up? Why do you think that hasn't received support?
Sure. So I'd say, look, there clearly is a trust deficit between the municipality and residents, and I mean, obviously, people can see sort of relate back to some of the press releases that I've made over time about that have resulted to that rise of a trust deficit between the municipality and residents. As to the idea of a public-private partnership, I think the issue there becomes whether regulation allows for such an entity to exist. And as far as I'm aware, and this is subject to correction, is that the regulation at the moment does not make provision for that. So you'd have to have some type of amendment, from the minister to allow something like that. And I think part of the issue in terms of the trust deficit that I'm talking about is, let's take the issue of let's step away a bit from water. Let's look at the touchy issue of the electricity supply, where you have Ideal Prepaid as the supplier, but that contract was completely flawed. And as part of the financial recovery plan, the Treasury had come in and wanted to put in another supplier to replace that contract, but there was a resistance from the community in that regard. But if you really look at the reasons for that, it's again back to the issue of the trust deficit and saying, look, if monies that they would be buying electricity with would go straight to the municipality, people don't have the confidence that it would be used in the correct way, and therefore, in order to plug that trust deficit, you'd perhaps need a third party to be the recipient of the money, and then whatever would be deemed as profits would be dispersed back to the municipality. But for that to happen, you need an amendment in terms of regulations. At the moment, all the regulations are saying is that, as a municipality, if you have creditors, you need to pay them within the 30, 60, 90 days. But there isn't, and again, I say that this is subject to correction, is that there isn't any clarity about what happens if the municipality fails to meet its obligations with its creditors in that sense. So yes, there could be some talk or idea of a public-private partnership, but from a regulatory perspective, the issue becomes, I don't think that it could be permissible from that, although there might be some degree of support for it.
Okay. Let me bring in Soli Mudisane, who's a member of the coastal community. Soli, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, ma'am. Good morning to your viewers also.
Yes, Soli, what do you want to talk about?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, let me start by appreciating our young mayor, including the council, for progress that they are doing in Gauteng. Honestly speaking, Gauteng, we used to have challenges before, but recent, I'm appreciating because I saw big progress concerning. If you can look now in Costa, our young people have been employed. If you can see, there's a road that R52 whereby Rubens company employed a lot of people, young, including in town. There's a progress concerning the roads there. Honestly speaking, ma'am, if you see in Gauteng, if you experience problem, you will see protest. When did you ever last time see the protest in Gauteng? And always I was leading those protests because rather the council is engaging with the community concerning waters and everything. We saw the progress, and there's a companies that are working on the water pipes, replacing the old pipes around Gauteng and everywhere. And then before, honestly speaking, the people who took over the water in 2021, the Rent Payers Association, I don't know what somewhere. By then, honestly speaking, the water was not clean as they are saying now. I heard that Mr. Jones is claiming that the water was apparently not well. Before Mr. Jones, we had a problem of water, yes. But after he took over the plant from the municipality, then we were experienced. Yes, they were trying to do clean and everything, but concerning the water, we were getting dirty water more than what the municipality was delivering. So some other times, I'm asking and begging to the other political parties not to play a political game whereby, as we are reaching the local municipality elections, people will come and say this and this and this. If you can go to Costa Gauteng, the whole Gauteng now, you will see the progress. In town, there's a company called Civils and Civils is busy doing the jobs there. And if you can see in the R52, there's a progress there. If you can see around the location, there's a paving, there's everything. Those were complaints by us. Yes, we had a problem of water and street. But
Soli, do you support the position that Vili and the other community groups are fighting for, in as far as the safeguarding of the assets and the dysfunctionality of the municipality is concerned? Do you think that it would be justified to have them be in charge of those services again?
No, unfortunately, I don't agree with that. What is something that let us give the municipality a chance. As I'm saying that there's a progress referendum which are going on around Gauteng.
Okay.
That's why we are happy also.
All right.
So I don't agree with Mr. Jones and everyone to take over. Well, let's give the municipality, let Mr. Jones and others give the municipality a fair chance to work. Let us not interrupt anything or interfere anywhere with the municipality. Let the municipality do their job. As I'm saying, there's a progress now.
All right.
If there was not the progress, then you're going to see me on the street calling the community to come and close the roads. Because of that, they are doing progress now.
All right, Soli. I'm going to ask you to leave it there. Soli Mudisane, member of the coastal community. We're going to take a quick break. I've got more of your calls, your WhatsApp voice notes as well on this issue.
Pressure keeps mounting and the thirst for maximum points has drastically increased. FC Union Berlin and VfB Stuttgart are in a tense battle for victory. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Do not miss out on FC Union Berlin versus VfB Stuttgart on Saturday, 19 April at 6:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, we continue the conversation on Municipal Watch this morning. We're taking a look at the Gauteng Rivier local municipality out in the northwest. I'm still taking your calls for our guests. Anonymous, you're out in Bloem. Good morning. Hi, Anonymous.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You are speaking to Anonymous here in Bloemfontein. Cathy, the similar problems that that local municipality encounters, the residents, is the same thing that we encounter here in Bloemfontein. And I think I blame squarely the voters. As voters, I think it's high time now that when we vote, we use our mind instead of using our hearts. And besides that, one thing that I also want to say is we've got the problem of councillors. 90% of our councillors, they are not, how can I say it? I don't think they are legit. If I can tell you about my councillor, it's been 3 years the guy's been voted on, but we've never had not even a single meeting, not even one. So I think voters, they need to think really. We can't live like this, especially the taxpayers. It's not fair for us.
Okay.
If I can tell you now, Cathy, my sister, it's been raining probably for the past 2 days in Bloemfontein. I can't park my car at my place. I need to go next to the tar road and park my car there. Every day I need to leave the car and walk to my place, and in the morning I need to walk again back to my car. That's not fair because the roads I can't drive by. The roads are worse.
Yeah, Anonymous, I hear you. Sounds like an incredibly difficult situation. And you're right that voters need to think carefully about the decisions that they're making when they vote for councillors. We've got some questions for the mayor on the WhatsApp line.
Good morning, Keten, the brilliant team behind the scenes. I'm Donald in Rustenburg. Can you please ask the mayor what happened to the money which was allocated for the Swartrachens Magaliesberg Road fire derby? What happened to those people who got that tender? Because it's like they showered the money and go, and that road is now a death trap.
Hi, Kitty. Please ask your guest there, maybe the mayor, that during the time when Vili was in and the concerned citizens were in charge of the water, were they using water tankers? And if not, why is the municipality now resorting to water tankers? Because there's a very gray area here, Kathy, that I think we need to dive deeper into. Water tankers, if are not municipally owned, are a business to other individuals. So just ask man for point of clarity. It will help us. It's Kutazo from Upington. Thank you.
Hi, morning, Katie, and the listeners of SAFM. Hey, Katie, I ran out of words. You know, when the infrastructure is there and now the guys are supplying with water tankers, why must there be water tankers? Just like the guy said, when the plant was run by community, they had water. These guys were talking every day of corruption. I won't leave the ANC because of them. These guys, Jacobs, wake up and work. It's Bafana here from Nkwenkwe KZN.
All right. Those were the questions and comments coming through on the WhatsApp line. Mayor Jacobs, let me give you a chance to respond to them.
No, thanks again, Cathy. Look, let me respond to the WhatsApp one. Look, it's not a Mahalis road, it's the coastal road in town. That is a provincial road. So Public Works had appointed a contractor, and it's me, the business people in coastal will tell you, it's me who called them to a meeting and started to raise concerns about the progress that was being made because there was no movement at all. And I raised the matter before the Premier and the MEC, and there was an intervention. As I'm speaking to you now, the work has been done. There's a contractor who's got capacity, who's got a track record, who's been appointed to do that work. So there's work that is being done there. So I think soon the coastal town will be tarred. All of it will be tarred with road. Now, okay, in Coastal, we are only in Khetling, not Coastal, the whole of Khetling, we are only using water tankers to supply informal settlements. All our formalized areas, they are getting water from taps. So it's and something that we greatly improved on when we came in we found about 20 trucks of water, and we have limited those trucks now to 4. So from us, that is a progress that we have been registered because we fully agree with those who are saying the usage of water trucks is really not a good thing. It does not give decency to our residents. So as far as I'm concerned, we have really moved towards improving the municipality. When we came in the municipality for the past 5 years, we have received disclaimer audit for the past 5 years. We have moved away from that disclaimer to a qualified audit opinion in the past 2 financial years. Now, there's a lot of work that is being done by the municipality to can improve on the challenges that the municipality is facing. I will still extend my hand to Billy Jones that my office is still open. We are open for engagement to ensure that we deliver services to the people of Khetling. That's one I can assure. Now, the last issue that is important that I touch on, Cathy, is the issue of electricity supply that the Council of the DA has touched on. At the current moment, we are in court with the company that was trusted with supplying our electricity. In fact, their responsibility was to supply electricity meters and ensure that they maintain the system. The contract is over. Now, what happens there is that I think, and we will need Billy Jones to help the municipality here, that National Treasury has appointed Vodacom to come and take over the contract. The residents there are giving us trouble to can change those meters. Now, let me tell you what the municipality as it stands is providing electricity in coastal town for free because the company is refusing to release the money. Every time when Billy Jones buys electricity, if he buys it because I know he's got solar, if he buys it, he must know that that money does no longer come to the municipality for 5 months now, since December till today. Now, even if there are challenges in terms of infrastructure, we need that money to can also ensure that we maintain that infrastructure, which we are finding very difficult to do now because the municipality.
So what I don't understand, Mr. Jacobs, is why there seems to be this tension between yourselves and the residents. You know, you talk about an open door policy on the radio today, that you're open to talking to Billy Jones, but you know, why does it take this platform? Surely that's something that can happen outside of this platform, and it hasn't been happening. I want to know from your perspective why, very briefly.
As far as I'm concerned, there's no tension. It's an individual who always does that, goes to the media and says certain things. As far as I'm concerned, we are working well with the residents. There's a concerned citizen. I can't define them as concerned. In South Africa, there are citizens who took the same approach as about Willie Jones. We engage them. We have meetings. We have monthly meetings with them to can discuss progress in terms of the challenges that they have raised about the municipality.
Okay. Okay. Pause it there. Willie, let me give you a chance to come in quickly before we wrap things up. Hello, Willie.
Yes, Kathy.
in as far as the open door that the mayor is talking about, he says that you're not willing to actually engage with them. Is that true?
Do you know what I suggest? What I propose is a committee for water and sanitation. So let the mayor put his money where his mouth is, and within this week, put up a committee that includes the Ratepayers Association. I would commit to it, and then we've got a committee as a voice for the community. Everything can be put onto record, and then I think everything is sorted.
Okay.
Because if we've got a committee where the ratepayers and the community's got a say in municipality, then we can always openly engage.
Okay.
And then it's not necessary.
All right. Thanks for that, Willie. Mr. Jacobs, are you open to that?
Cathy, I'm 100% open. Next time there's a committee for preference, you can call them. We are doing the same thing.
Okay. So what we have then after today is that there will be an establishment of a committee, particularly for Gauteng, to resolve some of the issues around water and sanitation. That's the commitment that you have heard from all parties. All right, we're going to leave it there with that conversation for today. Up next, the latest news update.
Thank you, Cathy. Top stories at this hour. A scholar transport driver shot and killed in Sophia Town, and cross-examination in the Jocelyn trial continues in court. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good morning. A scholar transport driver has been gunned down near a primary school in Sophia Town, Johannesburg. Eyewitnesses say the driver was shot when he was dropping off school children this morning. Police are at the scene. One of the parents, Christy Duplessis, explains what transpired.
He dropped off the kids at Christian, the vet school. So as he was driving, he dropped them off already. And he was at the stop sign, and then they shot him there. My son has been traveling with him since he was in grade 1. Yes, all the kids are safe. He dropped everyone off already. The police is there.
In another shooting incident, a taxi owner has been killed in Nyanga on the Cape Flats. Mongi Didi was a member of the Cape Amalgamated Taxi Association. The ANC in the area says Didi was gunned down while he was getting out of his car last night. ANC spokesperson in the area, Benson Ngenzu, says the deceased was a principled person.
I condemn in the strongest possible terms the brutal and senseless assassination of Cadre Secretary Mr. Mongi Didi in Nyanga on the evening of yesterday. Mr. Didi was not only a prominent leader within the taxi industry, but also a sharp, committed and principled individual whose insight and dedication to the sector will be profoundly missed.
The state in the Jocelyn Smith disappearance case has highlighted differences between one of the accused, Stefano van Ryn's plea explanation testimony and what his lawyer put to the state witness. The cross-examination of van Ryn is continuing in a trial within a trial in the Western Cape High Court, sitting in Saldanha Bay. The court is seeking to determine the admissibility of the statements of Van Ryn and co-accused Jacqueline Apollos. They allege that they made the statements under duress after police tortured them. State Prosecutor Zelda Swanepoel.
Mr. Van Ryn, can you please explain why you gave those instructions to Ms. Mkabai that you were wearing foot cuffs?
That's not what I said.
So that's something that Ms. Mkabai took out of her own?
She must have made a mistake.
Sure. Why did you not correct her when she made that mistake?
Oh, as I understand, she rectified it.
An investigation has found that Russian-installed officials in occupied Ukraine are systematically seizing thousands of homes in Mariupol 3 years after the city fell to Moscow's forces. Russia's siege left 93% of Mariupol's high-rise buildings, about 443 towers destroyed or damaged. The BBC's Olga Robinson has the details.
Official documents published by the occupying authorities in Mariupol since July last year show that at least 5,700 homes have been identified as ownerless or potentially ownerless and are facing seizure. But many of these homes do have legal owners. Ukrainian residents who fled Russia's brutal siege of Mariupol in 2022. To try and rescue their homes, Ukrainians have to face a dangerous return to Mariupol and pressure to obtain a Russian passport. This leaves many with an impossible choice, whether to risk their safety in returning to Mariupol or give up their Ukrainian national identity in order to keep their homes.
Recapping the top story, scholar transport driver has been gunned down near primary school in Sophia Town, Johannesburg. Eyewitnesses say the driver was shot when he was dropping off school children this morning. I am Mondelambana for SAFM News Headlines at 11:30.
The Blue Diamonds want to shine all the way from kickoff to the final whistle, while the Rockets plan to rock up with a strong winning mentality. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Experience the exciting battle between JVWFC and TS Galaxy Queens on Sunday 20 April at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
It's an interesting time with regard to the Trump administration.
South Africa, 60%, 30%, and they've got some bad things going on in South Africa. You know, we're paying them billions of dollars, and we cut the funding because a lot of bad things are happening in South Africa. The fake news ought to be looking at it. They don't want to report it.
Of course, everybody is doing a calculation and speculating on what could be included. The safest thing to do is to get confirmation from the US as to how they arrived at the number.
The African countries almost have to think of what I would call the coalition of the wounded, looking into various countries and saying who has been badly affected by the US and how can they open up the room for engagement on that.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Good morning, Cathy. This is GS Mospacing. Cathy, I wasn't even aware that Koster or Ketling has got a mayor who would come to a radio station to address the public. You know, driving through this Koster town, it's a very, very small town, Cathy. Very, very small. I suppose it's maybe under a square kilometer in terms of the area. But the town is so fraught with potholes, you can't drive in there, Cathy. And there's a massive load of vehicles transiting or traveling through that small town. I suppose even those cross-border trucks. You know, it's so small, but it's so fraught. It's so fraught. You wonder if there's political leadership or leadership. Thank you. This is GS Mospacing.
Hi, Cathy. It is so clear that mayor is lying and that they are just clearly incompetent. The fact that residents had to take over just to be able to provide water, which is a responsibility of the municipality, is already an indictment on them. So shame on him. He should really hang his head in shame.
This is Cathy. It's Honorable Earl here. I just want to say something. The mayor can come and say they are putting in this in the plan, the project, this project, that project. No, we don't need that. We don't need that. Let the things that you have done speak for themselves. Do not come here and speak. We are doing this. We have done. Really have done a lot of things. During the 2020, yes. But now the municipal, whatever that they are focusing on now, it's handing out the tenders That's what they are very good at. Can I ask Cathy, what do we call this? The GNU. Let us put Billy at ANC. That's all.
Hi, Cathy. I just feel like these people are ungrateful. Because the only reason why Mr. Jones had to take over this water crisis, it's because the municipality was failing to supply water. Yet you hear someone say, no, let's give the municipality a chance. They failed. And at this time and point, they will try by all means necessary to be seen as if they are doing the right thing just because it's towards elections. But we all know the results. Municipalities work for their own pockets. But nevertheless, it's fine. We'll see the results.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, so then to wrap up the hour on the show today, we're going to be focusing on sexual grooming and the dangers of sexual grooming, particularly for children. It's in the wake of the Timothy Omotoso trial. You'd remember that what happened in that particular case is, some of the work that was done by psychologists that was put up as evidence before the court was that the victims of Omotoso, the alleged victims of Omotoso, had been sexually groomed from a very, very young age, which is why they at some point did not even see what was happening to them as having been wrong, or did not protest against what was happening to them. For more on this, For more on this conversation, we're joined by Bulelwa Adonis, who is spokesperson for Women for Change. Bulelwa, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Sandile Useni is legal advisor at the Commission for Gender Equality. Sandile, good morning.
Good morning, Sis Cathy, and also good morning to Bulelwa and your listeners.
And Dr. Shahida Omar is clinical director from the Teddy Bear Foundation. Dr. Omar, good morning to you.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you for this great opportunity.
So one of the things that we picked up on the show as we were, dealing with the debate and the backlash around Omotoso effectively walking free after 8 years of that court case that really had a lot of ups and downs, were still questions that pointed to misunderstanding perhaps of what child grooming, sexual grooming is, and how often the patterns under which sexual grooming takes place. So, Bulelwa, maybe let me start with you. What is sexual grooming?
Okay. Just to break it down, I want to explain the term grooming on its own and just connect, sexual grooming to it. So what grooming essentially is when someone builds a relationship. This is trust or emotional connection with someone. This can be a child or this can be an adult, and the intention of this so-called relationship or trust or emotional connection is to manipulate, exploit, or to abuse them. Obviously, in this case, sexual grooming, the intention is to sexually abuse someone. And in this case, I know that we were mainly focusing on children and whatnot. But in essence, the reasoning for this is connecting with someone emotionally to exploit them sexually, to abuse them sexually, if I can summarize it like that. That is a simplified summary of what sexual grooming is.
Dr. Omar?
Yes, I think I agree with Bulelwa. I also want to say that a groomer will be manipulative. They will seek out relationships. They will seek out children whom they feel are more vulnerable, more needy. So will form these relationships. And it's misused love. It's abuse in the highest form, but very subtle and manipulative without the child realizing. And that is what grooming is about, where they lure the child into this relationship where the child feels so special. The preferential treatment that the child receives, it becomes very hard for the child to distinguish that this is actually manipulation, and it's going to lead to exploitation. So the child will gravitate to these relationships. I think that's what we need to understand here. That often the question is, why did the child continue? Because the kind of response and emotions that and affection that is, misused affection that is given to the child, it becomes so difficult for the child to actually retract, because they would be losing out on all of the above that I described. And as parents and as caretakers, the reality is nobody has 24/7 time to focus on their child and give that level of attention. And that's what we need to understand here. The kind of attention that is given by a groomer is so toxic without the child realizing, because the child will then latch onto it and it's very difficult to let go. And with the Omotoso case as well, with the children starting on, so that slowly the barriers and boundaries are eroded, and it becomes much more easier than to prey, becomes easier to prey on the victim without the victim then resisting or walking away. Thank you.
The points that you have raised about these boundaries that should exist, in the relationships, adult-child relationships, those boundaries are often not boundaries that children can set for themselves or that they are entirely aware of. So Bulelwa, what is it about these patterns that we need to be mindful of?
Must I answer in relation to children? I just want to make sure I understand your question.
Yes, you can answer in relation to children, or you can begin more broadly and bring it down to children.
Okay. Please repeat your question again.
So it was around the boundaries that Dr. Shahida is talking about. Mm-hmm. She makes reference to how the luring takes place, and after a while, there are no boundaries that exist. And that also then creates the vulnerability. It creates the trust and the environment for the manipulation to take place.
Okay. So I think starting with children, let me start with children. I think it's definitely harder for a child to distinguish, which adult is bad or unsafe or dangerous, as opposed to the adults that, they can trust. Because as Dr. Omar so beautifully explained, that oftentimes groomers are, number one, all of these predators are not written. It's not written on their forehead that they are predators. But in the case of a groomer, the intention of this emotional connection, or if not speaking about children, like in the Omotoso case, which was occurring, in a church, we're talking about establishing a connection where you trust someone, where, especially in the case of children, where they are vulnerable, where it's easier for them to trust an adult. And I think the reasoning, because of this blurred interpretation of boundaries, is because, number one, there's a lack of, I think in our schools, maybe not all of our schools have enough policies to explain or completely educate our learners as well as our teachers on what is right and what is wrong. What behavior is allowed. I was reading an article by our government, which was about sexual abuse in our schools, and they were touching on that, on how some of our schools lack policy. So in essence, what that means is that a lot of the times the behavior let me rather use the word interaction between students and adults, or the students and the teachers, is often blurred, because you assume that because it's an adult, no harm can occur. So when things get to a point of being sexually abused, oftentimes children will not speak up, number one, because they're fearful, two, because they're confused, especially because oftentimes it's somebody you trusted, somebody you loved, and all of a sudden you've become this victim. And I think a lot of the times we're not educating our children. And I think that outside of our children, I mean, us as an organization, we've made countless, the surveys to our community where people will respond, and we have over 5,000 responses where people will inform us that they don't even know simple terms. People don't understand things like consent. Our children need to get to a point where we start having conversations about autonomy, a right over your body. Where can people touch? Where can people not touch? And I think that's where this misunderstanding of boundaries comes into play. That there's this lack of education, there's this lack of communication between one another. And I think that it starts with education. And I think that one of the reasons why an organization like ourselves are so big on educating one another, society, is because we believe that through people understanding things like what is grooming, we'll get to a point where people will have comprehension in terms of what behavior should be acceptable and what behavior shouldn't be acceptable. And it's synonymous to adults or adolescents as well. Like we're talking about the Omotoso case, being groomed from a young age. In that case, it's disheartening because you think a church, you think, no, man, this is a pastor, this is a man of God. It's also that abuse of power spiritually, because there is a vulnerability in the sense of, those of you who don't know, a church should be treated like a house for the broken. So a lot of the time, people go there for healing. People go there, to seek the Lord. And in this case, there was an abuse of power where an individual, a man who preyed on these individuals, these women, abused the fact that no, they could trust him. Abused the fact that no, they see him as this authority, this man of God, and I think it's also the lack of boundaries in the church as well. Not establishing what is right and what isn't right.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there with you. We're going to continue this conversation shortly.
Spar Rewards brings you 5 days of even more now on, with up to 50% off. Get Spar Long Life Milk 6-pack, buy any 2 for 170 Rand and save 30 Rand. Or 1 liter Spar 100% fruit juice, buy any 2 for 32 Rand and save 32 Rand. Price is valid from 17 to 21 April while stocks last. Spar Rewards. Sign up for more.
It's the catch of the season as our 3 madcap fishing fanatics are back, embarking on even more exciting adventures across the globe. Get ready for bigger fish, bigger laughs, and more extreme destinations in a series packed with adrenaline-fueled fishing antics and plenty of friendly rivalry. Fishing Impossible Season 2, Fridays at 10 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The Toffees want to convert pressure to pleasure by claiming maximum points against the reigning champions.
To put Everton level, he certainly does. No mistake. Beautifully done by Iliman Andai.
But the citizens are not interested in any outcome but victory.
And there's Grealish, and inside 2 minutes, City are in front. And Jack Grealish, his first Premier League.
This is the Premier League. Witness the mouth-watering clash between Everton FC and Manchester City FC on Saturday 19 April at 3:30 p.m. live on S3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. We're focusing on the subject of sexual grooming. and how often that would play itself out. Our guest this morning, Bulelwa Adonis, she's with the Women for Change, Sandile Useni, Legal Officer at the Commission for Gender Equality, and Dr. Shahida Omar, who's with the Teddy Bear Foundation. Sandile, maybe let me give you a chance to come in to speak from your own perspective around sexual grooming and the patterns that and the shape that it will often take.
Thank you very much, Sis Cathy. I will agree with my fellow panelists that this sexual grooming usually happens or is done by people in a position of trust, and then they happen to abuse that trust by manipulating the children and also taking advantage of them after gaining the trust, and then engaging in sexual relations with the children. So in many instances, as the Commission, we have noted that most of these incidents, they happen around the family settings, Sis Cathy. You find the perpetrator is an uncle, a father to the survivor. And in most instances, you find the person is a religious leader or a teacher. We have noted in recent times also incidents wherein children are alleged to have been sexually violated by their teachers at schools. So most of the time, the perpetrators are people who are in a position of trust or power, who then take advantage of the children. After earning their trust, then they engage them in this sexual grooming, which often has devastating consequences, because it has a long-lasting effect even on the child from that young age up until they reach adulthood. These things, Cathy, remains with them forever. It changes their perspective also when it comes to life. So it's a serious violation of the constitutional rights of these children, because we know even our constitution, one of the most progressive ones, it protects everyone, more in particular children, from any maltreatment or abuse in terms of Section 12 of our Constitution. So this behavior, in actual fact, it borders on constitutional violations, Sis Cathy. Thank you very much.
Often we'll hear people talk about why it is that the children didn't speak up, and one of our guests touched on this before we went to break. Explain to us a little bit of how that pattern of trust is forged to the extent where the victim often then will keep quiet.
Thank you, Sis Cathy. As stated before, the person lures the child, especially in this age of social media and technology. They lure the child to earn their trust. And after earning the trust, the child lets their guard down. And in most instances, the children are not aware that they are being targeted for sexual grooming. These perpetrators, they are normal people in our society. They, as stated, some are religious leaders, some are teachers, some we live with them amongst our communities. It could be a neighbor or an uncle. The child feels safe around that person. So there's no need, and in most instances, even the parent of the child cannot detect any wrongdoing from the side of the groomer. The person either brings themselves closer to the child, or the parent or caregiver of the child, to win their trust so that there's no suspicion. That's when then they strike and do their dirty work, if I may put it that way.
All right. We're going to continue with the conversation shortly, and I want us to explore, this idea of victim blaming, right, where you'll often find people say, no, but there's a level of accountability that the youngsters must take. I want to know what my guests have to say about that.
On the news headlines, a relative of a scholar transport driver who was gunned down in Sophia Town in Johannesburg this morning says the incident has traumatized her. Lucia Smith says the deceased was her brother. In another shooting incident, a taxi owner has been killed in Nyanga on the Cape Flats. Mungi Titi was a member of the Cape Amalgamated Taxi Association, and residents of Harrismith in the Free State have marched to the Vulindlela Primary School in the area. Participants of the march include parents of learners at the school. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
We continue the conversation this morning. We're focusing on sexual grooming. Shahida, let me bring you into this particular point around sometimes what we see happening with the victims of this violence. You will hear, and one sees it a lot, especially where teenagers are concerned. So you'll have a 20-something-old individual, maybe even 30, 40 plus, dating a teenager. And often it is the teenager that is blamed for the relationship. This individual will either buy them clothes, buy them the latest phone gadgets, whatever it might be. And when society looks at what is happening, part of the responsibility that is placed is on the minor. And you will hear people make statements like, yeah, you know how young people these days, they like things. Yeah, this, Talk to me about that, Shahida. Because for me, when you look at a lot of these examples, that also falls right into the patterns of what grooming is. Because these older men are using their economic power to lure these young girls in by buying them things, by giving them money, because they are aware of whatever vulnerability that these young girls may be facing in their lives. And vulnerability, by the way, can be both seen and unseen, right? It can be as a result of either having lack physically, whether food or otherwise, or it's emotional vulnerability.
Thank you for that question, Cathy. So I think if we just look, I want to just pick up quickly on a previous point. What we find is the sexual abuse accommodation syndrome, where through the grooming process, it becomes very hard for the child, for the adolescent to actually refuse the closeness, the breaking down of those barriers, those boundaries, because of the special interest and affection that is actually focused on their child. So it becomes difficult to refuse. And then as a result of not refusing, it becomes difficult to resist as well. And in the manipulation and power dynamic, we find that the groomer is going to prey on the child. We're showing the child that I'm so interested in you. You are so special. Validating the child's fears, anxieties, concerns, home, domestic issues with peers, etc. And that in itself then becomes more and more aligned to the fact that the child is going to go along to get along, because the child is gravitating to this kind of affection, attention. You raise the point of why children do not refuse sometimes, or why is it difficult for them to refuse, or why does community, society say, but the child had a role to play here. I think we need to also look at the piece of legislation here, that children at the age of legal consent is 16. Any child below that age cannot give consent. So that speaks to one piece of legislation. The Child Justice Act speaks to the age of defense. So if a person is 2 or more years older, and I think Sandile can attest to that, then the adolescent, even that case would also speak to sexual abuse, statutory rape. We need to understand that. So children find it hard because they are often gravitating towards the nice things, and who doesn't want to have nice things? We all want it. The 5 C's, the cars, the clothes, the cash, the cell phones, cosmetics, you name it. I mean, if you look at the advertising industry, you've got to have it. The grandiosity, the valorization of those things. So makes it so hard. Children want to be recognized. They want to be seen to be out there, that they, are avant-garde and they have arrived. So, one cannot blame children, but I think that's one way of luring children. But the undertones are quite strong and quite threatening because of the, losing out on all this, but the power dynamic where there is subtle, I think, innuendos made where that if you say anything to anyone, we won't be able to continue this relationship. You won't have this. I won't be there to support you. So these undertones, it's not always direct threats. There are direct threats made. There is intimidation. There is coercion. But I think it's more subtle. And if we look at the Omotoso case, which is very a classical example, that it started off so subtle and grew so serious over a period of time. And I think that is it. That's what groomers do. They build up the intensity, that it makes it absolutely impossible then for the child to turn away, because now the child is in the mess, unfortunately, and the child is actually told that you will be blamed for this. The blaming, the naming, the shaming, and the humiliation, the stigma, the blackmail, all of the above is applicable to the child's status, which makes it very hard for the child then to withdraw, stand up, speak out, break the silence. Thank you.
All right. I want to bring in some of the perspectives of our listeners this morning.
Honest security, I don't like it when women call strangers, mkwenyana for what, for who, is married to who, because they've got a small daughter, the small baby girl, they call people mkwenyana. And those old men also call my wife. 3-year-old girl is called my wife. It's wrong, man. Mkwenyana for what? My wife for what? It's wrong. That's why the grooming starts there. Even the baby will think the husband doesn't understand what the husband is. That's why it's wrong there. Don't like this when women call people mkwenyana. Mkwenyana what? Lisa from Brixton.
Hi, Cathy. This is Salim from Durban. Cathy, if you look at the Mohlahlana case, you could see, the judge focused mainly on the prosecution failing to prove the case. But if you look at the victims and the statement made by the victims, and if you look at what the statements made by witnesses, there was ample evidence. It was clear that what was happening. You can't simply say the prosecution didn't prove the case, but the witness.
Good morning, Cathy, and your guest there. Do we even know that our children are already sexually groomed through the stuff that they consume through the media, your TV, your internet? We are not even aware what those music video of pop music does to them, what those other movies does to them. We can have genre, but the truth is out there. So what are we going to do about it? Because we are already late, because our kids are in danger right now. Brandma by Proteagland. Thank you for the question.
Cathy, good morning. Just a quick question for me. The first one is, are there no psychometric evaluations that are done on people who are entrusted with looking after those who are vulnerable, so that these things can be picked up much earlier? And also, number two, is it a situation of even people with these underlying criminal behaviors
discovering them later in life. So I'm trying to say, if you are a sexual perpetrator, is that something that would have been inherent from one's birth, or is it something that develops in others later on? Thanks.
All right. Thanks for those questions. Yeah, look, the reality is that it doesn't happen only where children are vulnerable in the context of poverty or otherwise. Sexual grooming takes place in very many different settings. You would have seen some of the exposés that there have been about sexual grooming in the church, in the Catholic Church, with young boys and some of these priests. So I don't think that there's necessarily spaces of society, teachers, extramural activity teachers. We've seen some of the headlines of sexual grooming, how they sexually groom members of their teams that they're training in different sport. So you can find it everywhere. I just don't want us to think that it's something that applies to poor or underprivileged communities. Katuyo and Midrand, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, Katu, go for it.
Good, yeah. I think earlier on you spoke about the economic dynamics, which we cannot ignore. Young girls don't throw themselves at older men. There are circumstances like fatherlessness where you've got a household with a single mother. Look at the unemployment of this country. Sometimes it's about survival. And when you look at men in their 50s or 40s sleeping with a 19-year-old, they turn around and say, oh, she's legal. But it's just not right. It's not ethical. So I also just want us to focus on the level of unemployment and the economy that's not growing and the level of fatherlessness in our homes that contributes also to this.
Yeah, really good point, Katu. Thanks for bringing that in. And the fatherlessness, right, creates that emotional vulnerability. We have to see vulnerability as cutting across different aspects of who we are as human beings. Bulelwa, let me give you a chance then to respond to what our listeners have said, and please put in there your concluding remarks.
Thank you so much to all the listeners that shared their piece. I think my concluding statement, I'd like to just echo the sentiments of my fellow panelists, especially mentioning what the legislation says, and just reflecting especially about what the listeners said about the external factors, fatherlessness, the abuse of power, and Cathy, I'm so thankful that you stressed this point, that unfortunately sexual grooming is not only found in underprivileged circumstances, in impoverished situations. I'm so thankful that you touched on that, because it's so imperative that we understand that this is not an issue or pandemic that is negated to specific people, but because of, I think Dr. Omer stressed on, she mentioned coercion, and we need to understand what that means. And she touched on how that means manipulating someone in essence, that is intimidating a person or tricking someone or forcing someone. And it's often the dangling of somebody's needs that lures people into, unfortunately, being sexually abused by these perpetrators, these groomers. So I think that we need to get to a point as society where we become more vigilant, irrespective of whether it's our children or whether it's us as adults or adolescents.
Okay.
And just be more vigilant, yeah.
Thanks for that, Bulelwa. Sandile?
Thank you, Sis Cathy. Yes, I do agree with one of the listeners who mentioned the issue of economic dynamics. In most instances, even the perpetrators themselves, they use money and all these nice things to lure the children into this grooming life. So another one, as is Cathy, we've picked up as a commission that in most instances, these adult males, they use cultural practices to mask their grooming or their unlawful acts, to use practices such as ugutwala, and there's a practice called fumelani nganeno, wherein they engage in sexual relations with minor girls, and then they rush to the families of the girls to pay some form of damages. In some parts of Mpumalanga, you find they pay damages as low as 200 rand, 300 rand, so that the family cannot lay or open a criminal charge or case against the perpetrator. So they use these cultural practices to hide their dirty work. So in conclusion, Sis Cathy, I would also like to urge our communities to report such incidents of sexual grooming and sexual abuse of children, to report it to the nearest Department of Social Development offices, so that they can properly investigate. They can further report it to the South African Police Services, because we live in communities, we see these things, but we choose to turn a blind eye.
All right.
So it's up to us as community members to come up and report such incidents.
Sandile, we're going to have to leave it there. Dr. Omar, we're completely out of time. Apologies, I won't have a chance to give you just an opportunity to wrap. This is where we leave things on the talking point for today. Up next is the book reading.
The wait is over. I've been hustling, grinding, and now it's time for the glow up you've been waiting for. Unapologetically, made the bay. From the grind to the glam. Anele Zondo The Glow Up on Saturdays at 8 p.m. only on SABC 1, Mzansi, for sure.